Hello, boys and girls. So, remember, Joseph is in prison in Egypt. And the baker and the butler did not tell Pharaoh about Joseph when the butler was freed from prison and the baker was actually hung. And 2 whole years went by with Joseph in prison still. And one night, the Pharaoh in the palace was sleeping, and he had a dream. It was a very, very strange dream. In his dream, he dreamt that by the Nile River, there were some really nice fat cows. There were 7 fat cows there, and they were eating grass, and they were just wonderful. And then, pretty soon, 7 more cows walked up, and they were skinny and horrible looking. You could see their ribs. And those 7 cows ate up the fat cows. Just ate them up. Oh my goodness. Well, he woke up and he felt very troubled. He was like, what was that about? But he went back to sleep. And then, a little bit later, he had a second dream. This time, he dreamt that there were 7 ears of corn, and they were very ripe and lovely ears of corn, and they looked so delicious. But then there were 7 more ears of corn that were all shriveled up, and they were just dry and shriveled up by the wind. And just like the cows, the skinny corn swallowed up the fat corn. And I don't know how corn would eat corn, but somehow it did. You know how dreams can be weird like that. Well, Pharaoh woke up, and of course he was very troubled, and he thought, what was that? That was a weird dream. And so he wanted to find out what they meant. So he had some very kind of wise men in Egypt, and he went to tell these wise men his dream to see if they could tell him what it meant. But nobody knew what they meant. And he was talking about this dream in the palace, and the butler overheard. And then suddenly, the butler remembered Joseph. And he went up to the Pharaoh and he said, Your Highness, I know somebody that can interpret dreams. He interpreted the dream about me and the baker, and he got it right. He knew exactly what the dream meant. Well, his name is Joseph, and he's in the prison. So that was pretty amazing. Well, Pharaoh ordered Joseph to be brought to him at once. So they had to go down into the prison and get Joseph, and he'd been there so long, I'm sure it was very smelly, and they had to get him all cleaned up to go be in front of the Pharaoh. And they got him cleaned up, and they brought him before the Pharaoh to the palace. And I'm sure that Joseph probably was happy to get out of that prison, right? And so they brought him in before the Pharaoh into that beautiful palace. And I'm sure that Joseph probably looked around and thought, oh my goodness, what a beautiful place. Do you think he would be nervous to go before Pharaoh and talk to him? I don't know, I think I would be maybe a little bit nervous. But Joseph, he trusted God. So many of the men brought Joseph in. He's gotten a little older by now, right? To explain what Pharaoh's dream meant. So, Pharaoh told the dreams to Joseph. He explained how in his first dream, he had 7 fat cows, beautiful fat cows. And then 7 skinny cows came and swallowed the fat cows up. And then he told him about the 7 big ears of corn, and then the 7 skinny ears of corn that swallowed those up. And Pharaoh said, I've heard that you can tell me the meaning of my dreams. And then Joseph said, well, I can't tell you the meaning, but God can. The one true God will give you the meaning. And then Joseph said, the 2 dreams are about one thing. They're about the same thing. God is telling you what's going to happen in the future and that you would be prepared. The 7 good cows and the 7 good ears of corn represent 7 years. And there will be plenty of food and cattle, and the weather will be nice for 7 years. You're going to have plenty of food in Egypt. And then the next 7 years, there will be famine. Famine is where there is not enough food. There won't be enough rain for the crops to grow. And so there's going to be 7 years of famine. And God gave the same dream twice, a similar dream twice, so that he knew that it was truly going to happen. And then Joseph continued and he said, you need to find a good, honest man and put him in charge of all of your crops and all of Egypt to make sure that the orders are carried through. You should command that during the 7 good years, you're going to have 1/5 of all the grain, all of the seed, the wheat collected, all of the corn collected, all of the rice and different grains. Collect 1/5 and save it for the 7 years where there's a famine. And that was a great idea. Pharaoh was very pleased with Joseph's idea. So you know what he did? He put Joseph in charge. He said, all right, I want you to be in charge. You're the one that will make sure that we collect enough food and put the decree out. And Pharaoh put beautiful clothes on Joseph, and he gave him a special ring that meant whatever Joseph said, it was as if Pharaoh would say it. Isn't that amazing? So God had it planned. He knew exactly when Pharaoh would need to know about his dream. And he needed to know where Joseph was, right? So Pharaoh could find him easily. It would have been really hard if the butler had told Pharaoh 2 years before and Joseph was free to go. They maybe wouldn't have found Joseph to find out about this dream. So God had a perfect plan for Joseph. And he did a beautiful thing where Joseph is going to save all of Egypt. We're going to find out that his plan was going to save even his family. And we'll find out about that next story. But Joseph never stopped trusting God. He wasn't worried about being in prison for 2 years. He trusted that God knew what's best. God's timing is always perfect. Even if we don't think so, we can trust God. We can ask God to give us patience. God gave Joseph patience while he waited. And while we're waiting, we need to do the right thing. Joseph did the right thing. He was a good prisoner, even in prison. He worked hard and he did his best no matter where he was. No matter what we do, we should do it to the honor of God. We should please God with everything we say and do, just like Joseph did.